if Eagle and Lion want to fight, Eagle can just come down, perch on the Lion, and fly back up. But
Yeah.
Lion don't fit jump reach sky now. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching or listening to us from. This is the Naija FC Podcast. As always, I'm your host AyoT, and I have with me my reliable co-host. Yes, thank you very much, guys, for joining us. We are now in the knockout stage of the AFCON 2023, Africa's flagship tournament. We've gone past the groups. We've seen all the surprises. We've seen the overachievers. We've seen the disappointments. And it's time for the knockout round. If you want to know our thoughts on each of the knockout games, make sure you check out the last video. But for now, for this video, for this episode, we want to preview the match between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. Of course, both teams finished second in their group. Nigeria finished second in Group A behind Equatorial Guinea, and Cameroon finished second in their group. Also, a lot of people have spoken about why are teams that both finished second playing against each other. Some people were even arguing with us on social media that we got it wrong, that there's no way Nigeria will play Cameroon. But because of the way the tournament is, because we have four third place teams that are going through to the knockout round, it's just the nature of the draws. Some, unfortunately for us, some second place teams have to face other second place teams, and Nigeria, Cameroon happen to be the draw. Smith Layi, in this episode, I want us to really give people the ginger for this match. This is not a game that is going to be easy for either side. It's a rivalry that a lot of people don't maybe understand the depth of it. And I know you are a resident historian, so you're going to be able to give us that context. But before we get into it, let's just talk about the group stage performance of both teams. Like I mentioned, Nigeria finished second in Group A behind Equatorial Guinea. It was 2 wins and 1 draw. The draw was in the first match against Equatorial Guinea, 1-1, Osimhen with the goal after we went behind to a Salvador, first half strike. And we ended up beating Ivory Coast in the second game 1-0, from a Ekong penalty. We were excited, we were happy, we thought, oh yes, this team is performing, for us to beat a team like Ivory Coast, the host nation, we must be doing well. And then in the third game, it was a bit of a lackluster performance. It was a bit of a step down from what we saw against Ivory Coast, managing to beat Guinea-Bissau by 1-0. Of course, across the 3 matches, we saw about 1 million missed chances. But at the same time, you're in the knockout round now. If you miss your opportunities, you get knocked out. There's no, we'll try again and do it better in the next match. On the other hand, we have Cameroon, the Indomitable Lions. Some people will say subpar AFCON group stage appearance. They were literally on the verge of getting knocked out, but they somehow clawed their way up. They clawed their way up and managed to qualify from this group behind Senegal. In their first game against Guinea, 10-man Guinea, they managed to earn a 1-1 draw. In their second game against Cameroon, they were well beaten by the Teranga Lions. Say lion pass lion. And then in their third game against Gambia, that was the one that was exciting and entertaining. They were losing 2-1 in the 85th minute before getting a goal in the 87th minute, an own goal. And then in the 91st minute of the game, they scored the winner to qualify for the knockout round. As fate will have it, I remember that day when Cameroon were playing against Gambia, I was talking to my graphic designer. I said, oh yeah, prepare graphic for us. Nigeria against Guinea. I said, guy, I mean, change this thing. It's now Nigeria against Cameroon. When Gambia scored again in the late stages, the one that was ruled out, I texted him again. I said, I beg, change it. It's now Nigeria against Guinea again. And then they gave handball for the goal. I said, I beg, it's back to Nigeria against Cameroon. So it was nervy. Cameroon were nearly out, but they managed to scale through. How do you assess the group stage performance of Nigeria and Cameroon?
So, one team, both of the teams did not play to their full potential. That's one thing you must know. Nigeria had 7 points. Cameroon only 4 points. The 4 points they had, it was enough to actually take them to the second place. Imagine. And if you remember, the first game, They drew 1-1 against Guinea, a 10-man Guinea. They could not create opportunity against a 10-man Guinea. We don't forget that they was below par against Senegal and against Gambia too. I think they were fortunate to actually beat Gambia in that last game. So to tell you that this is not the Cameroon we used to know. This is a different type of Cameroon. So we see what they bring to the table. For me, they didn't do well in the group stage. I think Nigeria had a better group stage performance than them. But for two teams too, they didn't play to their potentials.
And I think I would agree with you. Overall, we had a better group stage performance than them. But the one area that Cameroon were better than Nigeria was in terms of scoring goals.
Yeah.
Nigeria went through the group stage with 1 goal in each game, finished with 3 goals. Whereas Cameroon, they also scored in every match, but they scored 3 against Gambia, so they finished with 5 goals. Do you think that can have any potential to maybe lift Cameroon a little bit in the knockout round? Can they have that hope, that belief that this Nigeria team are not really firing, so we can beat them? Do you think that can give them an edge?
So, so let's just put the context too. They scored goals. They also conceded goals. They conceded 2 goals against Gambia, 3 goals against Senegal, and 1 goal against Guinea. So 6 goals in the group stage. So that means that then they go up front. They can also lead goals. And if you look at the Cameroonian team, they make schoolboy errors. In the back. So I expect Victor Osimhen should be licking his lips now. Rubbing his palms. Looking at the the Cameroonian defense. That's my own opinion. So there's no confidence to take into the Nigerian game. I just think that where Cameroon might be very dangerous is crosses. Takulu Kambi, and Nkudu from Bekistas, the crosses, the corners. Must be very careful. But I don't think they will not threaten us enough.
Okay. Smith Layi, I will now turn it over to you. Can you give us a little bit of the history, the rivalry between both sides, for people that are not so familiar?
A lot of people used to mention the Jollof Derby. Say the Jollof Derby, Nigeria was Ghana. But I think Nigeria Cameroon is a much bigger derby compared to the Jollof Derby. I understand those that said the Jollof Derby because there's a similar historical, similar cultural, there's similar in culture compared to Ghana. But I think in terms of football, the Nigerian Cameroon game is a far, far bigger rivalry. And I remember the first time that Cameroon actually won their first AFCON. It was at the expense of Nigeria in 1984. So that was the first time they won. And that would have been the first time that Nigeria will be taking a local coach to an AFCON tournament, and we're going to win with that local coach. So we suffered in front of them. We suffered in Ivory Coast. It was also in Ivory Coast we suffered. We lost 3-1 in that finals. The same Cameroon too, when we went to the final again in 1988 in Morocco, it was Cameroon that actually was, with a very controversial, game. We lost to Cameroon 1-0 in Morocco 1988. I think that game, we had that game in our hands, but Cameroon took it away. So it's already there. We were on the verge of qualifying for the World Cup 1990. We went to Yaoundé. It was Cameroon that took us out of that World Cup. So their golden years was between 1980 and 1990. It was Nigeria that they suffered most. We suffered for their hand more. So when we came to our home soil too in 2000, the finals, we lost to them on ground. And I think that was the most painful game I've ever watched as a fan before in Nigeria. Because I thought that that was the climax of our golden generation. They were trying to, that was the last competition they're going to play together. But it was Cameroon that came to took that trophy from us in Lagos. So for me, it's a rivalry. When Nigeria play against Cameroon, form goes out of the window. I won't lie to you about that because it's now about the art. And what makes this game special is that those that took the trophy away from us in Lagos, they are now in the ends of affair in Cameroon. Samuel Eto'o was in that, is called in that finals,
Yeah.
and is now the FA chairman. The captain of the team, Rigobert Song, is now the current coach of this Cameroon national team. His assistants or his staff, Raymond Kala, was a starting defender for Cameroon against Nigeria in 2000. So there is a lot of things, and also Nigeria finished the judge. Part of Jose Pesiero's team is also played in that final. So it's a much bigger game than actually what we see on paper. But I just hope that the Eagles they will tell them all these things, what Cameroon did to us when it mattered most. Because a lot of people say that we also beat Cameroon in 2019, also 2014, but that was only the finals. When it was the finals, in fact, out of the trophy they won, half of them they beat Nigeria in the finals. So it's a bigger game, and I think that when it mattered most, that's when they pop up with their, the Cameroon pop up and they actually upstage us. So I think this is a much bigger game than what we just see on paper.
And thank you very much, Smith Layi, for that context. I will say one thing. I was a very young boy when they played that 2000 final, so I didn't watch it live. But if there's one match that I would recommend for Super Eagles fans to go back and watch, it will be a painful watch because you know the outcome already before you start watching the game. But I've watched that game in the past 1 year. I've probably watched the full 90 minutes of that game like 3 or 4 times. The Nigeria versus Cameroon final in Lagos 2000. It was such an entertaining game of football. And then, of course, we unfortunately lost that game on penalties. But it was a controversial as well. But
yes,
it was a fantastic game. So anybody that wants to watch, and understand the rivalry, just go and watch that one match. I think, the video will not be too hard to find. I watch it on YouTube. You will see it on YouTube. And it was a fantastic game. But let me bring us, Smith Layi is the historian. Let me bring, for the Gen Z viewers, let's talk about the recent happenings. In the past 6 meetings between the sides, Nigeria have won 3 games, we've drawn 2, and Cameroon have won 1 game. In 2015, we played them in a friendly. We beat them 3-0. In 2017, we played them in the World Cup qualifiers. The game in Nigeria, we beat them 4-0. Igalo, Obi Mikel, Victor Moses, and Kelechi Iheanacho. In the return leg in Cameroon, we played a 1-1 draw. Moses Simon with the opening goal, and then Abubakar, their resident senior man, scored the equalizer for them. In the 2019 AFCON, also in the round of 16, it was a tough match, but we beat them 3-2. Igalo with the opening goal, then they scored 2 on us. Igalo scored the equalizer, and then Big 17 Alex Iwobi got the winner for Nigeria. And then we played them in 2 friendlies in 2021. And then that's where they beat us in one of the friendlies. A goal by Frank Zamboingisa, Osimhen's teammate now at Napoli. And then in the second friendly, we played a goalless draw. And then that now brings us to 2024, where we'll be facing them again in the round of 16 of the 2023 AFCON. So, head-to-head, in the past 6 meetings, Nigeria have the better of it. 3 matches in a row for Nigeria now, with no defeats, looking at our first 3 games of this AFCON, whereas Cameroon are on a streak of 5 matches without a clean sheet. So, that, like Smith Layi said, as much as they scored goals in this tournament, they also shipped more than they scored. Another thing to note is that Cameroon, in all of their last 5 matches, both teams have scored. So again, it speaks to what we said earlier. They have the ability to score, but they also have the ability to concede a goal. And then, I'll say Nigeria, not so good for us, but in our last 8 matches, we've conceded first in 6 of them. So Nigeria too, we can sometimes, even though we've not lost in our last 3, but we've considered first in our 6 of our last 8 matches. So we also have that potential to concede goals. And then another thing to note is that all of Nigeria's last 6 matches have seen less than 3 goals. So that means we're set up for probably a 1-1 or a 1-0. 1-1 will take us to penalties. 1-0 will mean that somebody wins by a narrow margin. So that's what the head-to-head is saying between Nigeria and Cameroon. Okay, Smith, like having seen how the Super Eagles set up for the first three matches of this tournament, what kind of approach, what kind of tactics, what kind of setup do you think that Jose Peseiro is going to bring into this match in round of 16 against the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon?
So for me, I think that I'm an advocate of you can't play two at the back with this current Super Eagles. I have to be honest with you about that. You can't play two at the back, four at the back, sorry, with this current Super Eagles. I think we're going to play three at the back, four in the middle, then three up front. Because, there is this, since we've been playing three at the back now, we've not considered any goal for the past two games. The first game was four at the back. This three at the back now, we've not considered any goal. So, and we normally consider what? Less opportunities when we are playing three at the back with our first choice personnel. So I think that Jose Pacero should revert back to his 3-4-3 formation. And I think the team that started the game against Ivory Coast should start.
Every single player that started the game against Ivory Coast,
yes, should start.
Okay. I would say for me, given the fact that we've gone with 3-4-3 for our past two matches, that's what I would expect. That's what I would expect us to go with. And that's what I would suggest as well. It seems like the boys are more compact with that formation. And you want to say that maybe we're not creating as many chances as we did when we played four at the back. But at the same time, we also look a lot more safer, when we're off the ball. And at the same time, we're creating chances. It's not like we're not having chances. We're creating chances. This is just the time where Osimhen cannot afford to miss anything. Moses Simon, when you're one-on-one with the goalkeeper, you have to score. You cannot afford to make any mistake and the goalkeeper close the ball back. Samuel Chukwueze, if you get into advanced positions, you have to take advantage and find the right pass. Ademola Lookman also has to be at his creative best. I don't know, maybe Alassane Youssouf will be back by then, maybe he wouldn't, but Alassane Youssouf, probably would have a job to do. If he's Frank Onyeka, he has to be a tank like we expect him to be. Alex Iwobi has to be creative. I don't know if I would say the exact team that started against Ivory Coast. I think for me, the difference that I would like to see is I would like to see maybe I'll probably go with Bruno. Just because I trust Bruno a bit more than Osayi Samuel defensively. I know that if Osayi Samuel comes on, they will move Ola Aina to left back and Osayi Samuel will play from the right back. But I think we might be better off playing Bruno from left back and playing Ola Aina from the right back. That way, Ola Aina can defend well, and when he's going forward, he's not so predictable. Because when he's playing on the left, he's very predictable going forward. You know that he cannot really do too much with his left foot. So he would always try to look inward and try to either pick a pass or maybe play an in-swinger into the box. But it's not the easiest thing for him to do. So for me, I think Zedu is good on the counter. Zedu is pacey. But at the same time, Zedu can also make a mistake in defense. I'm not saying he will for sure, but I've been saying this before the tournament started. I am a fan of Bruno. I think Bruno is a better player overall. I think Bruno is a better defender. Even attacking wise, that people tend to use as the reason for playing Zedu ahead of Bruno. Bruno, in my opinion, is better in the attacking phase of the game. He might not have the pace, but his passes will be crisper. His crosses will be more on target, and his decision making, I think, will be better as well. For me, in the first three matches, I didn't really see what I would consider to be enough from Zedu Sanusi to prove that he's that fantastic left back or left wing back. The only thing I would say is that I'm not in training. So maybe Bruno is just doing so bad in training. I don't know. Maybe Bruno is just doing so bad in training that the coach does not even want to consider him. Because I don't think he has played a single minute so far in these three matches. So only God knows what's going on there. But besides that, I would like to see Bruno in the game. I think Omar Bali stays in goal. No reason to change him. He's been quite a solid presence for us so far in this tournament. And my only shout will be for Victor Osimhen. Victor, please. We love you. We know you're a superstar. We know you're the golden child of Nigeria right now. But you need to take your chances. We cannot afford to miss chances. Like we said earlier, it's the knockout round. it doesn't matter who was doing well before. It doesn't even really matter who dominates the game. All that matters is who scores goals and who wins. I think it's going to be a close affair. I don't expect it to be a Cameroon-Gambia type of match. I think it's going to be a close affair. So I really hope that the Super Eagles are set up well and set up to compete. Smith Layi, on the Cameroon side, are you expecting any surprises from them? How are you expecting any changes from their group stage? How do you think they'll set up against us?
So before I go to the Cameroon, I just want to say something about your lineup. For the coach, when I saw Saye Samuel play, I thought he's a player out of place. I don't think the coach. I now know the reason why you say that. The other was better. Because I don't think the coach will want to risk him, except maybe he's trying to play against tired legs. But from the start, I think we will go with those that played against Ivory Coast. And also, you mentioned Bruno. Bruno is meant to play when Sanusi wasn't playing, but they did not. That means that he's far down in the pecking order.
Yeah.
Yes. Him and Awazim, I don't know what is happening. It's like they are far down in the pecking order. I don't want to go into more that details, but so that means that you can't expect Bruno to come in the crucial second round game. That's it. So for me, that's my own. And for the Cameroonian team, I think the coach will go with those that played against Gambia. It's going to be Christopher Wall, Castellito, and the guy from Seattle Sanders in America.
Tolo.
Tolo, yeah. I think they'll go with guy at the back. There's going to be Kudu, Guisa, Nekem, and I think it's going to be pretty much those that played against this team. And I think that Onana will not be in goal. I would have begged them to, do a campaign for them to help us to put Onana in goal. But I don't think they will put Onana in goal. So the guy in goal is go with Fabrice Odua. I think is a first choice of a third division French side names. First, he was playing in Latvia before. The same club with Omo Jason. Club. So yeah. So it's going to be their first choice. So but what I know basically is that it was the first choice when they won the AFCON in 2017. Then it was in Sevilla also. So, but I think Cameroon is a better draw for Nigeria. That is it.
Let me ask you though, about their formation, because in their first two matches they played a 4-3-3, but in the game against Gambia they switched and they played a 3-4-3. So, do you think it's going to be 3-4-3 against 3-4-3, or Cameroon will switch to 4-3-3?
He won't change against Nigeria because he knew that he want to match us formation by formation. He won't change against Nigeria.
Okay. I would say I'm kind of expecting a similar thing. I'm not quite sure what formation I think that they're going to play. The 3-4-3 they played against Gambia, they won the game, but they were also quite vulnerable. So I don't know, maybe the coach would trust it still. The other thing to note is that sometimes when you play against a team that is playing 3 at the back and you go with 4 at the back, or you go with a 4-man defense formation, you can tend to get overloaded on the wings, and that's why we see sometimes that teams always like to match up with 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 when they're playing against a team that is using one of those systems. So that could be a reason for them to play it. But I would say the players that I think we of course need to watch, Kao Toko Ekambi, I think he's their number one goal threat. He's going to be a key player for them. Osimhen's teammate is also there. Frank Zambo-Anguissa, he's a quality player. Plays for Napoli, does well for the Cameroonian side. Was of course a key player for them in the group stage as well. And I think the one thing that maybe we will need to watch is our set pieces. On a normal day, the Super Eagles are not the best team from set pieces, both defensive and attacking. We don't do too much from set pieces, and we tend to normally concede chances from set pieces. But I will give us credit. I will give the Super Eagles credit. So far in this tournament, they've been quite assured from set pieces. We're not really conceding chances from set pieces like that. We've had a
Yeah.
few chances of our own. There was the header that Osimhen dragged wide in the other game. So that is where I think Cameroon's main threat is from.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Super Eagles are able to curtail that threat, then I don't really see Cameroon putting up too much of a fight. I think the midfield battle is going to be an interesting one, but I think Frank Onyeka and Alex Iwobi will have enough quality to overpower Anguissa and Ncham.
Mm-hmm.
From the wings, I think that's where we can really take advantage. Because in my opinion, our wingers are better than Cameroon's wing backs and their wingers. So if they go formation for formation to them with us, I think man for man, we're a better side. And I also think that we're a more compact side. So even if they
Yeah.
have more possession than us, it wouldn't be very easy for them to break us down and for them to
Mm-hmm.
create opportunities against us. I also
Yeah.
think that our center backs are quite solid. Calvin Bassey, Ekong, they've been, in my opinion, they've been very fantastic in this tournament so far. Shemi Ajayi has been good, not as great as them, but he has been good as well. So I think the threat of Kautokoya Kambi is one that we'll be able to deal with to a large extent. And then
Yeah.
up front for us, Victor Osimhen, we know he hasn't been firing, but I think there's something that we have to be happy about, and that is that Osimhen's name alone will
Yes.
put a little bit of fear in the
Mm-hmm.
hearts of the Cameroonian defenders.
Yes.
Even though he has not been scoring goals, they know that they cannot afford to not pay full attention to Osimhen. And
Yes.
that is going to help us. Even if Osimhen is double marked or Osimhen is always followed by somebody else, it could create opportunities potentially for the likes of Moses Simon, for the likes of Mola Lukman to be able
Yes.
to, find those gaps, find those spaces, and get opportunities of their own. So I think it's going to be a close affair. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game, but ultimately, and I'll give my prediction first. Ultimately, I think the Super Eagles will overpower and will soar above the Indomitable Lions. If Eagle and Lion want to fight, Eagle can just come down, perch on the Lion, and fly back up. But
Yeah.
Lion don't fit jump reach sky now.
Yeah.
So I think eventually the Super Eagles are going to soar above the Indomitable Lions. And
Mm-hmm.
just because I've been wrong with all my predictions so far this group stage, I'm not going to go for anything crazy. I'm going to go in line with what we have been seeing. I told you, Ismail, 1-0 to Nigeria. That's my prediction. 1-0 to Nigeria. That is my prediction. But I think we're going to have chances. We're going to be the better side, but it's going to be a slim margin. 1-0 to Nigeria. What do you think, Smith?
I think it's gonna be a very cagey encounter too. Clash of size, clash of formations. But I just think that quality we always prevail in this type of game. For me, it's gonna be a very tight match. But I think 3-1 Nigeria.
3-1 Nigeria.
Yes,
You are going
3-1
for
Nigeria.
goals. I like
Yes,
that.
yes,
Hope
3-1
see.
Nigeria.
I hope I'm wrong because I want us to score goals. I was talking to one of my friends, and I was just like, man, this AFCON, so many beautiful goals, so many interesting matches. And the person just told me that it's only Nigeria that have not done their own. No.
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria have not had any match that is so interesting. Nigeria have not scored any beautiful goal.
Mm-hmm.
While his own goal that is helping us. So I really hope I'm wrong. I hope we can get some goals. I predicted
Mm-hmm.
Osimhen to be top goal scorer. So if my prediction is supposed to come true, Osimhen needs to step it up because Nsue is
Yeah.
already far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully I get it wrong and Smilai gets it right. But all
Yeah.
in all, it's tournament. The most important thing is the win.
Yes.
And no matter the result, we need to get that win.
Yes.
So yes, that is my thoughts, on the Nigeria versus Cameroon games. Like anything to add about Nigeria versus Cameroon?
We should also just be careful about what they can actually post on set pieces. Don't forget that Aguiza scored against Nigeria in the friendly game against
Mm.
Maduka Goye. Ugemu that played for Dynamo Moscow also scored against Nigeria in 2019. So let's just make sure that we know what this guy can do. And I also want that the NFF, if they are smart enough to tell the players that this game against Cameroon is not a small game. We
Mm.
must not lose to Cameroon. So you tell them the history. So these guys to go into the game with that in mind, that they want to fight for the country. If they have that zeal to do the same thing for their club side, for the country, Nigeria will win comfortably on Saturday.
And yeah, just before we go to round of this episode, I want to just talk about something. Looking at the overall tournament, I've always said this. I think I said it before the tournament started on the preview. That how far a team can go in tournaments, sometimes it just depends on how the bracket shapes up after the group stage. I kept on telling people, shout out to Sulaiman. I told Sulaiman many times, Sulaiman did not believe that we can go far. And I told Sulaiman that, see, once we leave the group, it all depends on how the bracket shapes up. And now, Nigeria's half of the brackets. We are facing Cameroon in this game. If we beat Cameroon, we face the winner of Angola versus Namibia. The other teams in our side of the bracket are Cape Verde, Mauritania, Morocco, and South Africa. If you look at it, you'll probably say the two strongest teams there, Morocco for sure. And, it depends on how you look at it. Some people might say Cape Verde, some people might say Angola, some people might say South Africa. But Morocco is playing against South Africa, so one of them has to go home.
Yes.
Yeah. Let us just say Morocco wins for the sake of it, because they are ranked higher. Let's say Morocco wins and Nigeria should win. We play against Angola or Namibia. I think if you ask any Nigerian fan, who do you think will win between Nigeria and Angola or Namibia? They would always go with Nigeria.
Yes.
So if we're able to beat Angola or Namibia, all of a sudden we find ourselves in the semis. And then we face, let's say, Morocco against Cape Verde. The other, we play the winner of that match. Let us say Morocco win again. We find ourselves against Morocco in the semis. And then when it gets to the semi-final, at that point, you are smelling blood.
Yes.
You are smelling blood. Anything can happen. It doesn't matter whether they are better than us or whether we are better than them. At that point, you are smelling blood.
Yes.
And if we somehow manage to beat Morocco, all of a sudden you find yourself in the final. And we all know this. When it comes to final, there's no big team, there's no small team.
Yes.
We've seen finals that you expect the one team to go and just win easily. But no, it doesn't happen like that.
Yes.
So I think based on how our bracket are shaped up, we find ourselves in the better half. The second half has Mali, has Senegal, has Ivory Coast, has Egypt, has Equatorial Guinea. Tough teams. And not to disrespect any of the teams on our side, but I think on paper, we are on the easier side of the bracket.
Yes.
So hopefully things go well for us. I think Smith Layi will be happy with his prediction of Nigeria winning tournaments now, because the road, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel now.
Yes.
My prediction was that we'll finish third. So that's assuming we lose in the semi-final, which I think we can get there easily. No, let me not say easily before they come and laugh at me later. But I think we can get there, and I hope that the boys believe. I really do hope that the boys believe.
Yes.
Thankfully, I'm young enough, but at least I'm still old enough to have watched Nigeria win one AFCON. I didn't watch any of the previous two, but I watched the one in 2013.
Yes.
And, by God's grace, almost 11 years after, I just might watch my country win another African title.
Thank you.
Yes. Smith Layi, what do you think about what I just said? The brackets. Are you more confident now in your prediction?
I said that everything is falling together for Super Eagles. Everything is coming together. People say that, we finished second. It's not better to finish second now than to go and be facing Wolves and Scorpions in the other bracket. If you are facing Sharks, but the lion we are facing is lion from the zoo in Nigeria that we are facing. It's not a proper lion. It's like yourself. It's like being bred with goats. So I don't think it's a proper lion. So I think that Nigeria can actually win this. That's my prediction from the first stage. And kudos to those that have been falling together now to our line. Let's continue this journey of Super Eagles winning the AFCON. And, it's going to be the first time, I think, so that, what's it called? A country will play in the final, of, a country will play two different finals in the same host nation. Ivory Coast 1984, we were in the final. And this year again, we'll probably go with the final. So just watch out for Nigeria.
Okay, Super Eagles, please, please, please don't let us down. You can see we're smiling, we're happy, we believe in you guys. So please don't let us down. Everyone watching, thank you very much for staying with us throughout this episode. As always, the podcast sponsored by EaglesTrackershop.com. Check out the website to get your Nigeria flavored merchandise. And of course, let us know in the comments what you think about the round of 16 match between Nigeria and Cameroon. Let us know what you think about the brackets that we're in. And let us know, now that the brackets are set, what is your prediction for Nigeria and for the winner of this tournament? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure. Fantastic one as always, Smith Layi. This has been the Naija FC Podcast. I'm your host, AyoT, and my reliable co-host is
Smith Layi. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.